why you should hold off on buying Empulse during early access. Now, a quick disclaimer before we get into it. Everything I'm about to say is based on my impressions from the playtest and the free-to-play demo. The full early access release might fix some of this, but here's what I'm seeing so far, and why I think you should hold off on buying it. Now, I have two reasons for this. One, we cannot trust in 1047 to not abandon this project if it doesn't do the numbers that Ian is hoping for. And two, the game has nothing unique going for it and everything is unpolished. The development probably didn't cost much. They have obviously rushed out this game by copying over everything they needed from Splitgate 2 and just reskinned everything, added a grapple mechanic and programmed a mech. I'm not going to be surprised if it turns out the mechs are hella buggy, or in general they get a lot of bugs that they don't know how to fix. The guns are very much copied over from Splitgate 2, the perks are basically all from Splitgate 2 with a couple changes here and there. The minimap is a square now instead of a circle. The game modes are boring and unoriginal. Now let's talk about the maps, because this is where the lack of care really shows. The maps are technically new, but there's no real design philosophy behind them. Everything is super flat, which means you can wall run pretty much everywhere. Then there's auto wall run, so sometimes you start wall running when you don't even want to. There's also an out of bounds timer of 5 seconds, which sounds fine until you realize you can just jump over the main building in the middle of the map, which is technically out of bounds, and pop up right behind the enemies in their spawn before the timer even kicks you back. Honestly, that's fun for me, but for newer players that's going to feel miserable getting flanked from a direction that shouldn't even be accessible. To me, this is a pretty clear sign the maps haven't been playtested by people who actually understand this kind of movement shooter. It's not just the maps, the movement mechanics themselves feel like they weren't tuned together at all. You got so many movement options stacked on top of each other that everyone's just going Mach 5 at all times, or the complete opposite. People hide in close corners with the one-hit melee weapon, which honestly feels just as dumb. And that's the thing, when a game's core system feels this untuned at launch, it's not just a rough edges problem. It tells you something about how much time and care actually went into early access prep. So going back to reason number 1, can we actually trust 1047 to stick with this game long term? Because here's the thing, they still have to pay for servers, plus keep developing the game to get it out of early access. And with no cash shop, all of that money has to come from people buying the game. Unless of course they decide to add microtransactions later. Anyways, let's do some quick math. Running servers for a game like this is probably costs around 10,000 a month? But that's actually not the scary number though. Paying the team is. A studio this size is likely spending somewhere around 300 to 400k a month just on salaries. And add that up for the rest of the year, they need to sell somewhere around 100,000 to 150,000 copies just to break even by the end of 2026. That's not do okay numbers. That's the bare minimum to keep the lights on. If sales don't stay steady after launch week, they could be in trouble fast. There are however also two positive things that I can say about the demo. We can defend their decision to copy everything over, because it does work on some level. And two, I also had fun playing the demo. So my takeaway in general is that if there is a significant player base on launch week, I will get it, because this guarantees a couple months of playtime before I get bored of the maps and the gameplay. At the end of the day, you have to decide for yourself if $20 is worth for a game without a real plan to make money long term. It's basically a gamble. If you made it this far in the video, could you please like, hype, subscribe? Thanks for watching.